Heatran, the Lava Dome Pokemon. Its body is made of rugged steel. However, it is partially melted in spots because of its own heat. Ever since its introduction in Diamond and Pearl, Heatran has been one of the most commonly used Pokemon in the entire game. It has impressive natural bulk with a great typing, meaning that it can take a great deal of hits without any real investment in defense. As if that weren't enough, it boasts an impressive base 130 special attack and can break holes in all but the bulkiest of special walls. It also boasts a great ability in Flash Fire, which allows it to fit on virtually any team because of its useful fire immunity. Heatran has become available in the wild once again in the 5th generation, so with all the hype about Black and White 2 just coming out, getting your hands on a Heatran will be even easier. Heatran has a number of useful movesets it can run. Despite its fire typing, often a curse for a defensive Pokemon, Heatran can run a very effective special defense set. Its typing makes it immune to both burn and poison, as well as residual sandstorm damage. Heatran can come in and threaten your opponents with a status move, either Will-O-Wisp to cripple an attacker or Toxic to help bring down a tough wall. Protect can be used to scout your opponent's attack, which is helpful given some of Heatran's common weaknesses, and Lava Plume can still hit your opponents very hard with no investment thanks to Heatran's 130 base special attack. Running Earth Power on this set could be helpful as well, since it provides a strong counter to opposing Pokemon that otherwise wall this set cold, like opposing Heatran or Tentacruel. Coming from its high base special attack, an all-out offensive set requires mention. With just its fire attack and earth power, Heatran hits a huge number of Pokemon for great damage, which is great since its other attacking options leave something to be desired. Your choice of hidden power is based on which Pokemon scare you more. Use Ice for Dragon types and Gliscor, or use Grass for generic coverage against tough water types. Running this set with a Life Orb makes Heatran even scarier because of its further increased power. A more defensive item choice, like an Air Balloon, can nullify Heatran's most crippling weakness. The loss in power can be made up by the fact that Balloon Heatran can switch into ground moves for free, plus give it some staying power since it's not losing 10% of its hit points with every attack. As with all Pokemon that have enormous offensive potential, Heatran has a very effective choice set. A Scarf is often appreciated because its base speed is so low, but if you feel confident enough, Choice Specs can really allow Heatran to punch gaping holes in your opponent's defense. The hit-and-run playstyle of a choice item is a perfect fit for a super powerful move like Overheat to really shine. It may seem counterproductive to run 2 fire moves on a choice set, but as mentioned before, Heatran's move pool is a bit sparse, so the flexibility of a mighty Overheat or a reliable Flamethrower can help you out if you get stuck in a pinch. Keep in mind that even with the attack drop, 2 Overheats are stronger than 2 Flamethrowers, so plan your attacks accordingly. Any more than 2 turns, you'll want to use Flamethrower so Heatran doesn't become setup fodder. The set is rounded out with Earth Power, an additional move for more generic coverage. That being said, your main bread and butter on the set will be abusing Overheat and switching to an appropriate counter. Overheat's high base power means that even a resisted Overheat will do more damage than any of Heatran's neutral attacks, so unless you can hit your opponent's weaknesses, stick to the raw power that Overheat will give you. For a more gimmicky set, running Torment on Heatran can frustrate your opponents to no end. Most Pokemon only have a single move that can threaten Heatran, so using Torment to know when that move is coming can help keep you safe. The gist of this set is to set up a substitute on the switch that Heatran will inevitably cause. Against the slower Pokemon switched in, you'll want to Protect to scout their attack, but against faster Pokemon, you can Torment them right away to prevent them from using the same attack next round. The next is a matter of protecting against their powerful attack, then keeping your substitute up, or firing back with Lava Plume on the turns that you are safe. Leftovers is essential to keeping this set running. Also, Heatran can become somewhat vulnerable with only a single form of offense, but under the right circumstances, this set can be almost impossible to counter. As with all Pokemon, these are not the only movesets that are viable on Heatran. Its impressive stats and useful typings mean that it can threaten many of the scariest Pokemon out there. Heatran has a number of helpful support moves like Toxic, Will-O-Wisp, or Stealth Rock that you can use to help your team succeed, apart from its obvious offensive prowess. Its signature move is Magma Storm, basically a powered-up version of Fire Spin. While this move is typically inferior to both Fire Blast and Flamethrower, it can be used to trap your opponents and finish them off while they are unable to switch away. Choosing teammates to work with your Heatran will depend on the set you decide to use with it, but there are a number of common Pokemon that work very well with any Heatran. Pokemon that draw Fire-type attacks like Scizor, Forretress, and Ferrothorn can fill this role well and allow Heatran to boost its already high offense. Forretress and Ferrothorn also require special mention because of their access to entry hazards and the ability to support your team even further. Heatran can put the brakes on a large number of Pokemon, and the resulting switches it causes can be a good source of additional damage. Because of its fighting weakness, bulky Psychic or Ghost types like Reuniclus, Jellicent, and Dusclops are also good teammates. Along the same token, any bulky Pokemon that resist water attacks like Dryskin Toxicroak or any of the main bulky waters can fill this role quite effectively. As with most teams, a Pokemon that has Levitate or is part flying is also very helpful because of Heatran's mighty ground weakness. These Pokemon can get a free switch into a ground attack and proceed to set up on your opponents, keeping momentum in your direction. Plus, with the exception of Skarmory, who can provide a ton of additional utility anyway, the other Pokemon pictured also resist water attacks that can potentially be thrown at Heatran. As powerful as Heatran is, there are some battles that it just shouldn't fight. The main one, of course, is against Blissey or Chansey. As with all special attackers, Heatran is helpless against their mighty defenses. Previously, Heatran could potentially just explode in their faces and knock them out clean, but with the nerf to Explosion in the Generation Switch, this is much more difficult. Even when running Toxic, Heatran can take some significant damage from Seismic Toss before Blissey falls to toxic damage, and Blissey will be healed by its natural cure the instant it switches out. Additionally, Conkeldurr can threaten Heatran with a very strong Mach Punch, and thanks to its Guts ability, only gets stronger if you try to hit it with Burn or Poison. Additionally, other strong fighting attackers like Lucario or Terrakion can threaten Heatran by simply being faster and hitting it very hard. Also, opposing bulky waters can wall Heatran pretty hard, and fire back with super effective water attacks. Politoed takes special mention here since its Drizzle ability will effectively have Heatran's primary offense, making it even harder for Heatran to succeed in the long run if you can't stop the rain. Also, any Pokemon that can use a ground move will basically one-shot any Heatran that's not carrying an air balloon due to its crippling 4x weakness. Because of this, you'll need to protect your Heatran against potential ground attacking threats until you know they're not carrying a ground attack. With all that being said, Heatran's offense is strong enough that almost any Pokemon you send out against it must proceed with caution. Even with resisted attacks, Heatran can still hit very hard or threaten back with a status move. It's essential to have someone on your team that can withstand Heatran's great power, or Heatran can bring you down all by itself. Heatran is one of those special Pokemon that requires a hard counter, or at the very least, a plan on how to deal with it whenever it shows its face in battle. Its capable defenses and absurd offenses make it a nightmare to handle if you're not ready for it. Even more dangerous is the fact that it can fit onto virtually any team, with the lone exception of a rain team, so there's almost always a chance that your opponent will decide to bring it into battle. There's a good reason Heatran has been used so prevalently since its creation. Its great bulk and impressive offense make it hard to bring down, and even harder to switch into. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for any future videos, leave them in the comments below. If you are interested in participating in our online Pokemon League, click the link in the description for more information.